Hi. So, recently, at E3, we just got a new gameplay trailer for Breath of the Wild Skyward Sword. I've actually been writing the script for a while, but I thought it would be weird if I didn't at least acknowledge the fact that it exists now. The trailer wasn't as long as I thought it would be, but we got a lot of exciting news, like Link is now officially Cyborg. Or, well, a cyborg. Looks like a mechanical element to me. And his hair's undone, which completes his transformation into Finn from Adventure Time. These are, of course, huge, groundbreaking pieces of information, and I can't wait to see how the new hair drastically changes the gameplay. Now, the original Breath of the Wild is probably my favorite game of all time. It's not perfect, but I don't think it needs to be. I was thinking about it, and well, here's my justification. The few games that get rated a perfect score by a company like IGN or Metacritic tend to fall into two categories. The first type are the games that are practically flawless and have been polished to perfection. Take Hades, for example. Every aspect of that game has been carefully thought out and honed in its execution. The soundtrack is just phenomenal, especially when fighting bosses, when the music goes into overdrive, tricking you into thinking that you can actually beat Theseus this time until... On top of that, there's the incredible hand-drawn art, story, the surprisingly great voice acting, the fleshed out and interesting characters. You can really see the love that went into this game. My point is that there's been a million roguelikes like Hades before, but what sets it apart is the level of perfection that Supergiant Games was willing to put into it. The reason that I think that not so perfect video games get perfect scores are because they have a selling point to them. Games with wildly cool ideas, or they have that one thing that players have been waiting for, or maybe it just had a lot of ambition. The thing can vary, but the point is sometimes one aspect of a game can be so great, it just carries everything else. Even if they aren't perfect, whenever I see ambitious games, it gets me so excited for the future. Okay, I don't know if that sounded confusing or not. Does that make sense? That makes sense, right? Right? Well, if Breath of the Wild falls into that second category, then what is its one thing? What is its selling point? What made it sell over 22 million copies? And of course, I'm talking about the Tingle outfit. It is the encapsulation of beauty, perfection, elegance, and style. The traits that we've desired since we started walking on 2 feet. It is one of humanity's greatest achievements. Just look at the colors, the vision, the boldness. It seems to demand your respect. A work so ahead of its time, it will never be fully appreciated. Researchers, artists, scholars, and even AI have tried and ultimately failed to understand the genius behind it. Unfortunately, there is a slight problem. As you can imagine, other companies and governments weren't too happy to hear about this. They agreed that in order to keep stability in the market, Nintendo had to hide their masterpiece. So the question still stands. What's the draw to Breath of the Wild? Well, it's that this journey is yours in every possible way. You can tell that everything about this game was designed to push exploration and creativity to its limits. For example, the simple choice to have Link's memory erased at the start seems like an arbitrary decision, but it means that he's this empty slate now. What you do defines who Link is, because there isn't any way he's supposed to act. He doesn't remember who he is. Most characters in games have their own personalities, flaws, wants, and desires. You're playing as that character, which is fine, but that's just how it is most of the time. But Link is an empty slate. He's a vessel for the player to fill in. I mean, the guy doesn't even talk. Everything is left to your imagination, so you can become Link, which kind of sets the tone for the entire game. This game prioritizes the player above all else. It's clearly not your typical Zelda game. Well, in fact, despite looking so different, I feel that the series has finally gone back to its roots. I couldn't find a source on this, but one interview mentioned that Link was named that way because he was the link between the player and the game. The series director, Shigeru Miyamoto, says his inspiration for Zelda has always been about a sense of childlike discovery and exploration. He was inspired by his own childhood adventures, stumbling upon a lake after exploring a nearby mountain. The feelings of awe and wonder he felt then are the same I felt the first time I played this game. Well, I guess it can't be too objective here, because this game to me is like how a 90s kid feels about Ocarina of Time. To describe it in one word, Breath of the Wild is immersive. This game has been carefully designed in all aspects to make you truly feel like you're in this world. I know that word is overused, but it's true. This game makes you feel like you're going in another world, and it makes you feel like you're going on a journey. And the immersion is rarely broken, as it's seen too often in other open world games. Everything has been purposefully built to make exploration realistic. The world itself, interacting with your surroundings, all the way to just simple mechanics too. It completely reinvented the open world genre, setting a new gold standard for these types of games. I think an underrated part of this game, that's sort of a byproduct of how much care they put into these interactions, is that it feels accessible to new players. The game has lots of buttons to memorize, sure, but walking around in this world, unlike so many other games, almost everything you try actually works. You're never left feeling like an idiot for trying to actually do something creative. For someone relatively new to video games, you have no idea what that meant to me. And it's not just that, the game goes further and rewards that kind of thinking. And, that's just one of the joys of this game. The first thing I want to talk about is the actual world itself. I mean, it's huge. It's huge. I haven't played a lot of open world games, but man, is this game stunning. It has coastal villages, barren landscapes, deserts, canyons, lonely tundras, everything in between, and just so many strange and beautiful places to find. And it's weird, it feels like a truly different world. Glowing mountains and just really strange stuff. And it's beautiful in this unsettling way. And the world is filled to the brim with just things to do, secrets to be uncovered, puzzles to solve, interesting characters to meet. While this may sound pretty standard for a big budget open world game, it's still important to nail the world, because without this, despite all the ingenious design decisions, the game wouldn't be much of an adventure, would it? The simple fact that I've spent hours just riding my horse to see the beautiful places on the map is probably a bigger testament to the world than any more talking I can do. Even the atmosphere of the world actually builds upon this theme of exploration. You wake up in a broken, desolate Okay, I'm gonna stop now. So you're in this broken Hyrule, right? And it's trying to recover from the damage of Calamity Ganon. Yeah, it's not anything original, but, it is worth raising some questions about. The mysterious premise leaves you wondering what happened, why the world's so quiet, why are there so many ruins and broken structures lying around. It gives you a reason to explore, to find out more clues about this mysterious world. And the most important thing it does is it rewards that exploration. Alright, I'm gonna go on a strange tangent here. Lego Marvel Superheroes, the video game. I think that's what it's called. You probably don't know what that is. Fairly, I shouldn't know what that is either, but my friend had it for some reason, so I do know what that is. We played it. It was okay. It was fun. There's this bridge, right? And apparently the bridge is under construction, and that's their excuse for putting an invisible wall. Now, you see, I hate invisible walls. That's it. That is my point. It took me 20 minutes to figure out that it was an invisible wall. I thought maybe there was some secret workaround, because it makes no sense, alright? You can see that it's Iron Man, right? So clearly, Iron Man should be able to fly over the bridge. It makes sense. Because who cares if the bridge is under construction, alright? But he couldn't. And so here we are. I'm still salty about this. And Breath of the Wild says to that, no thanks. We don't do that here. The only borders in this game are the edges of the map. Say goodbye to invisible walls, because you can interact with everything. Nothing is placed just for the sake of looking pretty or filling up space. If you can see it, you can go there. That volcano looming in the distance, you can go there. That glowing mountain over there, you can go there too. Every strange structure can be interacted with, because you can go inside every building and nothing is out of your reach. Literally. Because Link can climb now. And it's pretty great. Really great. I never want to go back to not climbing. You can climb trees, mountain ledges, buildings, sacred temples, which maybe you should avoid, but you still can. Stables, boulders, these boulder guys, hills. I mean, if it's bigger than Link, you can climb it. And his small stature, if you will, actually helps with making climbing small things feel less awkward. I mean, imagine Geralt climbing a tiny tree. That would just look weird. Speaking of games like The Witcher, while their storytelling might be on a completely different level, moving around and exploring tend to feel clumsy after playing a game like Zelda. The developers have created this boundless world and mechanics that allow you to traverse and interact with everything, and that's what makes Breath of the Wild a joy to explore. It's such an important element of this game, it just can't be overstated. In my opinion, one of the saddest things an open world game can do is something like this. So you're playing Assassin's Creed 795 or whatever, and then you find something that looks genuinely cool. But when you try to explore it, you find out it's just there to look cool. That's it. This might sound harsh, but in my opinion, I'd rather have nothing at all because I hate that feeling of disappointment. It sucks and it kind of makes you not want to explore other cool looking things. The world feels real because you can go wherever you want and do whatever you want. It gives a sense of control to that player and it just adds to that feeling that this is your adventure. And like I mentioned, it helps that exploration is actually rewarded. What's the point of all these ingenious design decisions if exploration doesn't lead anywhere? In the game, going to anything that seems out of place or interesting usually leads to a real discovery. There'll usually be a chest, a shrine, some sort of boss, a secret area, a Korok seed, or something else entirely. I don't want to spoil where, but there's this place in the game where you can ride a four-eyed blue horse god with unlimited speed and stamina. You can't make this stuff up. There's this one side quest where you can build a whole other town. A whole town you might miss if you don't go poking around. I have to say, I've had more fun exploring than just doing the main quest. It really is a treat. Oh, thought I was done? No. There's even more. One of the most important factors that add to the game's immersion is the fact that the story isn't linear, meaning that it makes sense no matter how you play the game. It's written in a way where you can learn more about the characters and what's happening, but it doesn't reference other parts of the story so that it makes sense in any order. So yeah, it's not a complex or deep story that we're going to be talking about for the next few generations, which might disappoint people that wanted something substantial, but this sacrifice they made for now leads to a much better playable experience in my opinion. We've already established that you can go anywhere and do anything, but with this you can do all these things at any time you want. You can skip the whole story and fight the boss after finishing the tutorial. You can do 3 out of 4 divine beasts. You can do anything or nothing in whatever order you want. I think it just makes the world feel a lot more natural because if I was in Hyrule, I would probably just go wherever I wanted. I don't care what the king or anyone else tells me. It's also just a nice solution compared to games that force you to stay in a particular area for story or whatever. This game doesn't stop you from doing anything. Instead, it just places natural roadblocks. For example, a large cliff when you have little stamina at the start of the game. Or, it just lets you get utterly destroyed by something clearly out of your league, and makes you realize that you have to come better prepared next time. But these are just obstacles, things you can overcome, unlike something lazy, like an invisible wall. Climbing smarter by stopping at ledges and using your jumps efficiently let you climb even the largest of mountain faces, and experimenting with combat and using creative techniques might let you defeat a much stronger enemy than you're really used to. Really, while the intention of these obstacles might be to be placed as suggestions to explore an area later on, it simultaneously encourages thinking out of the box for players who want to see those areas immediately. And weirdly, it just makes you master these fundamental concepts like combat and climbing, which just makes things in the late game so much easier. Everything is about experimentation and trial and error. And honestly, this game puts freedom on another level. In addition, you can see that some mechanics are solely there to encourage experimentation. Weapons break easily at the start, so you're forced to try out playstyles you might not be comfortable with, or use unconventional methods to destroy those bokoblins. Rain makes walls slippery, making climbing almost impossible. You're forced to either wait it out, sleep at a campfire, find a less steep ledge, or come up with something else. And the last thing I wanted to talk about, well, you knew it was coming. If I were to sum up what makes this game great, everything I talked about until this point is like 50% of it. The other half is all the physics engine. And to be fair, it probably deserves a lot more time in this video, but I just don't know what else to say except it just works. And it's amazing. Chances are, if you try something, it's probably gonna work. Developers have said that they took a lot of inspiration from Minecraft, and it really shows. Elements like fire, lightning, and ice all behave the way you would expect them to in real life. All the runes work amazingly, and even object interaction is on a different level. I mean, you can cut down trees and then use the logs as bridges? What? That's just insane. Okay, I should probably give you some specific examples right now, so I just wrote down some stuff. Let's see here. I talked about the log thing, fire and ice based weapons actually affect temperature, so you can equip a cold weapon to cool yourself in a hot environment, or vice versa. Fire arrows don't work in the rain, and you can make a portable campfire by striking wood with flint and a metal weapon, or just using a fire weapon. This one's a bit gruesome, but if you shoot a fire arrow at an animal, you'll get cooked meat. There's also this one quest in the desert where you have to transport ice cubes, and you have to put the ice cubes in the shade in order for them not to melt. Oh, here's one of my favorites. You know those octoroks that you can kill, and then they drop octoballoons? Octoballoons basically make things float, and well, I don't think I have to explain this one to you. Airships. Actually, you can probably lift almost anything. I remember this one shrine that was hidden beneath this huge rock, and I couldn't blow it up, and I just felt like a genius for using octorok balloons. Okay, I don't want to spoil too much, but if you just search up YouTube clips on Breath of the Wild, you can see how much creativity and freedom this physics engine allows you. Combat becomes extremely rewarding because of this unlimited potential. Mass murdering bokoblins has never been this exciting. Metal attracts lightning during thunderstorms, so you can exploit this to your advantage. Throwing a metal weapon at the right time towards an enemy can shock them. So yeah, you can become bootleg Thorg. You also get this toolset that further allows you to take advantage of the physics in this game. It's kind of like items, I guess, in other Zelda games. So Stasis is the first ability, which allows you to freeze time, but accounts for energy during that frozen time. Magnesis allows you to control metal objects, Cryonis allows you to create ice pillars from water, and remote bombs allow for remote detonation. You can cut down trees, and then using Stasis, you can hit the log and launch it towards a group of unsuspecting enemies. You can roll down rocks or remote bombs down hills and crush enemies or watch them fly as you blow them up. You can use Magnesis to swing around metal boxes. As I showed at the start of the video, you can do pretty insane stuff with the physics engine. People have made launchpad seesaw type things by using Magnesis, and basically the whole speedrunning community thrives off of using bullet time. And I did this useless thing. All of this, it's so refreshing. Being able to go wherever you want, however you want, whenever you want, being able to think of creative stuff and for it to actually work. This game has honestly changed its entire genre. The game can be improved, for sure, but the work that they've done has created an incredible foundation for further games. We haven't learned much, but looking at the recent trailer, the sequel looks like it'll allow you to explore even more of Hyrule. And my personal favorite part is that this game seems to actually have some sort of theme or story to it. I'm really excited to see if they can make a convincing story while maintaining that level of freedom we got in the original. Anyways, that's about it. Bye.